Welcome, everyone. You are about to embark on a journey through the universe as you indulge in this extraordinary essence of enlightened, empowered, evolved. Let the show begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Just in time. Greetings, everyone. I'm Luke Bryan Smith, and welcome to Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved, where we educate, motivate, and liberate you through enlightening dialogues, empowering music, and evolving content. I know everyone's doing well and everything is unfolding just perfectly. I am excited yet again because my next amazing guest is an author, educator, mentor, and speaker who specializes in assisting persons with chronic illness to transform their health. And there's a whole lot more, but we're going to find out about that whole lot more. But without further ado, allow me to introduce to you Dr. Michelle Gamble. How are you doing today, doctor?
I am blessed as always. Thank you for asking, Byron.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just want to say before I even go any further that I am a firm believer that time is our most precious, one of our most precious assets, health and a few other things, but time is one of our most precious assets. And for you to decide to spend even a moment of your time here with me, I just want to extend my sincerest gratitude to you. Thank you very much, doctor, for being here today at this present
Well,
moment.
actually, I have to thank you, Byron, because any opportunity that I have to be able to share the message of self-empowerment is a blessing for me and an honor to be with your community.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I received that with open arms. Thank you. Let's just get right into it. To set this up, let's talk about a few of your educational accolades, if you can share, because I saw a lot. I don't know where to start, but just give us a little background, a little, build up feedback on your education certificates, diplomas, and whatnot.
Well, it's all over the place.
Okay.
I started my journey as an educator in New York City. I was actually certified as a mathematics and English instructor for middle school and high school. I shortly thereafter left and I went to Japan, where I was a teacher there for 3 years. I taught number one with the Japanese government and then subsequently with the Department of Defense when I found my husband there and we got married.
Wow,
So
congratulations.
came under the umbrella of being a military wife.
Mm,
Uh,
okay.
but when we returned to this country, I decided to expand my horizon and really do a much deeper dive into health and wellness. I had actually started my health journey from when I was 17, but at that junction, when I had my fourth child, and I dipped into what I can now identify as postpartum depression, and
Mm,
I really felt that I was just losing my mind, and
mm,
I was afraid of what I could do to my child and my
right.
children. Like I said, I had four at that point. I went in to see a psychiatrist thinking I was going to get help. And within less than 15 minutes, she turned around and diagnosed me as bipolar and gave me a prescription.
Mm,
As I was walking out of her office, I virtually felt the voice of God resonating in my being to say, no, this is not
right.
who you are, Michelle.
Right.
And it
Right.
was in that moment that I made the decision to do three things. I decided that I was going to do a deep dive and find out how to heal myself.
Mm,
And then I was going to go back to school to learn how to help others to heal. And the biggest message that he shared with me in that moment was, you can't do this by yourself. And so at that point, I decided to form an organization on a non for profit realm that was geared towards creating community and helping to help others to create a community around them to support each other.
wow. And what is that the name of that organization that you developed?
That organization actually started out as Sankofa Learning Center, and then it
Okay.
split around 2004. We left what was then Jacksonville, Florida, where we were based, and then we left the military. We went to Waycross, Georgia, and that's when we split the organization into a for-profit, which became
Hmm.
Sankofa Healing and Enrichment, and a non-for-profit organization, which became It Takes a Village Ministry.
Hmm.
At that junction, I continuously as a true educator, involve myself in the plethora of the little pieces of paper that you see on the website. So
Right.
I've been certified in everything from colon hydrotherapy to doula to childbirth educator, brain chemistry, functional endocrinology, functional blood chemistry. The list continues.
Yes, I can
Basically,
see that. You have an extensive list of services and skill sets that you have acquired, and I want to commend you on all that. And I know it's hard to consolidate everything that you do and give us in-depth descriptions of everything you do, but you're doing fine. Um, just giving us an
well, I
yeah,
what I would like to say is the theme throughout all of it
right.
is the passion that I have to serving our children.
Oh,
Everything in
okay.
my life has been motivated by the desire to create a better world for our children. From my
Mm,
very beginnings as an
powerful.
educator
Yes.
to, like I said, my motivation for going into the health and wellness sphere. And every certification was actually triggered by a child of mine. So,
Mm.
for instance, my deep dive into brain chemistry was triggered when my son became schizophrenic.
Oh, wow.
My deep dive into functional endocrinology was triggered when my daughter, who I adopted, was diabetic. My one with colon hydrotherapy, that was triggered by not only my own health and challenges with regards to colon um, illnesses, but also
Right.
for my daughters.
Right.
And then, as I said, every single thing that motivates me, it always comes back to how do we make ourselves resilient and how do we pass on that information and that wisdom to our children?
Wow.
Unfortunately, we live in a world today where I see painfully that
Right.
our so-called adults are sacrificing our children on the altar of our convenience, on the
Mm.
altar of us feeling that we should be able to do anything, say anything, be anything,
Right.
regardless of how
Right.
that affects our children. And
Right.
unfortunately, that is a very painful reality for me to be aware of. So I spend my life looking for ways that I can educate adults, make them aware, because I know that ultimately that is the best way for us to change the world for our children.
Wow, that is amazing. And I have a few um, points to elaborate on. And I just want to commend you on your, I don't even want to call it work, but your passions and your endeavors. I think that sounds a lot more softer than work because this is something, these are things that you are passionate about. And oftentimes it does require work, but when we're passionate about things, it's worth it. We don't just look at it as just work. It's something that's necessary. It's something that we embody, something that fulfills us, and that's amazing. And what I would like to say, one of the points I would like to say is it never ceases to amaze me how some amazing uh, individuals such as yourself, beautiful souls such as yourself, can allow what you go through
Mm.
to turn your attention towards that and empower you. That right there, just you giving those examples is motivation for everyone, including myself that's here listening and or watching. It's just amazing how you just pointed out, okay, this happened with this child, and I empower my I use that as fuel to educate myself and to empower and to help others through that. And I think that's just so just amazing. That just yeah, that's amazing because oftentimes in life, and this is just from my perspective, we can allow things like that to, they say make us or break us, and you've allowed that to make you. And that's just to put it quite simply. And it's just amazing how you are turning these otherwise just traumatic things, where a lot of people would just give up, and then I'm going to empower myself about this. Not only am I going to get through this, but I'm going to become an advocate to help people, you know, get through this
Well,
as well. And that's amazing.
I, I thank you for that acknowledgement. And what I would like to say is to God be the glory, because
Absolutely.
reality is that every fork in the road
Right.
that I approached, it was through the Spirit of God that I was
Right.
able to transform my perspective
I
and
agree.
my approach and my actions as it
Mm,
pertains to the event. What I share with
absolutely.
people all the time because I deal a lot with people who um, are working through what we refer to as trauma.
Right.
And what I share with people is that trauma is not actually the event that occurred.
Mm,
People have that misunderstanding.
mm,
Trauma is, in actuality, the relationship we have with that event. That is why
mm.
you have
Wow.
two people go through the exact same event and yet they come out very differently because
Yes.
their relationship to that event is different.
Wow.
I'm
Yes.
so grateful to my parents who always instilled in me the unwavering belief that God is king
Mm.
and queen, or however you want to describe it, and that
Right. Right.
everything in our lives can be worked for the good. Everything
Mm.
in our lives can be transformed to bring us out on top if we have the belief, and more importantly, if we have the humility to ask for guidance, to ask for help. And
Craft
what
for
I know
divine
from my own
guidance.
experiences is that I have been in the bottom of dredges of
Mm.
situation. I have been at that precipice. Even there have been moments in time when I was literally ready to take my own life.
Oh, wow.
And in that moment, the Spirit of God came through various people in my life to speak that word that said, that is not what you need to do. I've got too much work ahead of you. There's too much that has to be done. And most importantly, it's not about you.
You. Wow. That is
So,
amazing. And allow me to interject a bit and elaborate on a few more points that you made. That's just amazing how, number one, you're acknowledging the strength that God working through you, how powerful that is, and that we all can connect that way and never give up. And you are a prime example of how never to give up. I mean, even though you said it so, quite elegantly, that you've been through the bottom of the trenches, you didn't even have to go into detail of what that entails because I can just imagine. I living on this earth for 53 years, I can imagine what you're referring to. So, yes, but just to know that yes, that we can always make it through, with that divine strength and and connecting with God. And that's just amazing. And we all do. I'm a firm believer that um we all have work to do, or we all have things to connect with. I just lost my train of thought, what I was going to say, but we all have a purpose. And yes, you had a purpose that you had not, and still haven't completed yet. And when you embrace that, and I think that's, in my perspective, that's why we're all created and we're put here for a purpose, and then the purpose that involves. Now, I won't go down the whole list, but I'll just say a few points. It involves us growing, helping people, learning, like you said, that everything we go through can be turned into fuel or a lesson for us to become more powerful and to become, yes, just better equipped to go through, not only go through our own lives, but to be able to assist others as well. So that's just amazing. And thank you for making those points because that's exactly the foundation that I've built this podcast on, is what all you just said. And that's just amazing.
and
Wow.
that is the message that is actually the key of what I refer to as our health ministry,
Mm,
because we come into the landscape with the paradigm that we are all divine beings. We are all
right.
children of a divine being. And subsequently, we all have the power to heal.
Mm,
Every single aspect of our being is actually designed to self-heal, whether
I
it be
agree.
our minds, our hearts, our spirits, our bodies. They are actually divinely designed to self-heal. Now, if you have that paradigm, if you have that belief structure, then you approach health and healing in a very different way. I am
Absolutely.
always overjoyed to interact with people who are working within the realm of chronic illness because
Mm.
I know the core of my being, you can transform your health. I don't care what it is that you come to me with, whether it be cancer or autoimmunity or digestive issues or, mental health issues. I know that God has the ability to help you to heal. Now, granted,
Right.
that healing may not look like you and I want it to look like because different people go through the healing journey and they end it in different ways. We all end this journey with shedding the physical body. That
Mm.
is just reality that none of us will avoid. And at
Absolutely.
the same time, the healing process may involve more of a primary healing for the spirit for some people.
Mm.
And for some people, their bodies will never recuperate, let's say.
Right.
But the
Right.
most important aspect of their healing journey was not about the body. It
Mm.
was about them healing their heart or them
Mm.
healing their spirit or healing their mind. And it
Right.
can go in so many different ways. But when you look at things from the perspective of you have the power because you are the creation of the Most High, and God never forsakes his children, just like you and I would never forsake our children, right?
Exactly.
So, how
Exactly.
can we expect that God could do anything less? And
Mm.
now the question becomes, okay, how do I place myself in alignment with that divine design?
Mm.
How do I prevent myself from screwing up the design? Because when things go wonky, it's not because God made a mistake, it's because we either have a wrong perception or we have thrown a wrench into the mechanism.
That's
And
amazing.
you
Oh,
combination of those two.
I apologize for interrupting you, but that point right there has been a big focus in my life, with my experiences and those around me, family and friends, is that, we tend to want to place blame on a divine being or God, but it's some kind of uh, misconnection within ourselves, within here, that things are going, like you said, wrong or wonky or whatever. It's not we're being punished, or God is up there with his strings helping these people and not you. It's like you're doing it to you. You're punishing yourself, and that's amazing. And I like the way that you articulated that. Yes,
So the
very.
powerful message that I share with people is to challenge them to look at the disease process as being a message that's being communicated.
Okay.
So if I'm working with someone who, say, has hypertension,
Okay.
the question becomes, God, what are you revealing to me?
Mm,
Why is my
wow.
blood pressure elevated?
Mm,
Not, oh man, God screwed up. So now I've got to fix what God made wrong by doing X, Y, and Z. Or you know what? It's in my genes.
right.
Well, if you it's in your genes, again, you're saying that God screwed up, right?
Right. Right.
Supposed to, hmm, is the messaging telling me perhaps I need to shift to a different job? Or
Mm,
perhaps messaging is telling me that I need to do some exercise. Or perhaps the message is telling me that I need to remove certain foods.
mm,
Or perhaps the message is telling me that I need to spend more time with my children.
wow.
Or perhaps the messaging is telling me that I need to take time for prayer and meditation.
Mm,
There's so many
wow.
reasons why you may be getting a certain communication.
Hmm.
And so the
I agree.
dis-ease is simply God allowing your body to be the vessel to communicate a message to you saying, something's wrong,
Right.
something's wrong,
Right.
something's wrong, as opposed to, you screwed me up, God, and come and fix me.
Right.
Nothing for me to fix. Program, my design is A-OK. You
Mm,
need to ask yourself, God, how is it that I messing with your divine design? How do I bring my life into alignment with your will? Because
wow.
we prayed all the time. You
Right.
and I know this. We always pray.
Yep.
Thine will be done. Thine will be done.
Right.
Well, are we really in alignment with that? Are we
Right.
just
Right.
go against the will of God? And what I share with people is that we live in a world of sins,
Right.
simply ignoring nature's supremacy.
Hmm.
And as long as we choose to hold on to our right to engage in sins because we believe that we should be able to do anything we want to do without paying the consequences, then we're going to continue to engage in these activities that lead to disease patterns and contribute to outcomes that we say we don't want.
Truth. Facts. Exactly. That's amazing. And thank you for breaking that down because what I got out of that, I got a lot out of that, but I'll just elaborate on a few points that I got out of that to narrow it down and put it quite simply is taking responsibility and empowering yourself instead of disempowering yourself, because God didn't create us to be victims,
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, all this, like you said, praying and just praying, going about it the wrong way as if you're this helpless being and involving in all this other stuff that can bring on and manifest diseases is not going to cut it. You got to look inside and see what's going on and get really, really to the root of the actual problem. And it's most of the time, if not all the time, starts here. So we have to realize that I think what happens is the way people, I can speak for myself, but the way people are sometimes brought up, or a lot of times brought up that way to be victims and to be complainers and to give away their power and to not really embrace the power that God is giving us and through Him. Um, and that's amazing how that you're affirming and just giving testimonies and examples of how that's probably not the right way. Like, how well is that working for you to be sitting here being frustrated with God, and placing blame on, that's the reason why things aren't going right for you.
What I share with people is that the process to me is simple. We say it's as simple as ABC:
Right.
assess, build, cleanse.
Mm.
And I spend a significant amount of time with people working through the process of assessing.
Okay.
And process of assessing is mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. And many times people don't recognize that the hardest challenge for me with most people is not the physical. That's easy peasy as far as I'm concerned in terms of, diet, exercise, and blah blah blah.
Right.
The most challenging part of the journey for me is actually working with people mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Because
Yep.
what I say to people is until you have that awareness that you are divinely designed,
Right.
until you have the awareness that your thoughts create your emotions create your behavior, and those thoughts are based in your belief structure.
Mm. I agree. I agree.
So we will go through lab work, just like I did just today with someone. We were going through lab work. He came to me and he's dealing with prostate cancer. And
Mm.
so he's
Okay.
engaging in a certain type of meal plan where he's removing different types of foods because it has methionine.
Mm. Okay.
So we're going through his lab work and I'm showing him how basically his lab work is reflecting condition of malnourishment.
Hmm.
And as
Okay.
we're looking at this, he starts to say, huh, maybe this means that I should not be doing such and such and such. And I was like, glory, hallelujah. To myself, I'm saying that. Like, once you start to help people to see the connections. And
Right.
then he said, but I'm so concerned about this prostate cancer. And I said to him, the first thing that I deal with people is this idea of medical hexing,
Hmm.
that you have taken on this identity of being a person with cancer. And
Right.
you are so bought into this idea of big C. Oh my God, it's going to take me out. And the fear that infuses someone as soon as they hear that word cancer.
Mm. Yes.
that in and of itself starts to create the mechanism that perpetuates the disease process, and it
Wow.
builds upon itself, and it
Wow.
further exacerbates all of the different pathways in the body that
Mm.
will lead to more progression of the disease state that we name cancer. And
Wow. That's
so
powerful. Powerful.
as we went through our assessment, you could see him start to light up because, like, you mean there are different things that I can work on? I was like, yes. You do not have to be tied to that identity of cancer.
Mm.
You do not have to give in to the medical hexing that says, I am a cancer patient.
Right.
You
Right.
can choose to shift your paradigm to believe I am a healer. In fact,
Mm.
my body was divinely designed to heal itself. And
Right.
when you see that and you truly start to play with that thought, it just brings you that sense of lightness, of freedom, of, like you said, liberation, that you are
Absolutely.
no longer chained to the identity of disease.
Mm. Wow.
Ah, God, I love it.
Absolutely. Wow. That is powerful. Thank you. Thank you for that. That is absolutely. And I resonate with everything that you said right there. Everything. And it's just so amazing. And I'm smiling for a number of reasons. First of all, I just think smiling is really good for the soul. Second of all, it's my response to what are saying, because a lot, if not all of what you're saying, it's swirling around in my head already from books I've read, from experiences from other people. It's just, it's affirming. You're putting it in your perspective, and it's just amazing, how it sounds so familiar, what you're talking about, and how we can embody, these diseases just because someone speaks them to us, and then next thing you know, the body's like, oh, okay, well, I'm following what you're feeling, what you're thinking. It's almost uh similar to like the placebo effect. You tell somebody something and they embody that, or put someone under hypnosis and tell them they have a cold and they wake up sniffling or whatever. But yes, I
And that is actually a thing, nocebo.
right,
The flip
yes,
side of placebo is nocebo,
right,
where you're telling people something negative, and so that's what they believe in.
right,
So if you believe that that is who you are, then that becomes your reality. And one of the things that I want to warn our audience about is that this is becoming particularly true when we talk about mental health and wellness.
mm,
Unfortunately, we're living in a society today where people are being deliberately manipulated
mm,
by the fear of, again, what I refer to as medical hexing, where
mm,
they are being hexed with these diagnoses of depression, anxiety, bipolar, ADD, ADHD, schizophrenia, blah, 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 blah. You name it, we've got alphabet soup letters for it.
right,
And the biggest thing for people to understand is that there are many mechanisms that will lead to those symptomology
mm,
that has nothing to do with all the woo-woo nonsense that they're telling you about, that leads you to believe that you're going to fix yourself with some medication. Let
right,
me tell you, there's no such thing as having a deficiency of SSRIs.
mm,
No, there's no such thing as having a deficiency of Prozac. There's no such thing as
mm,
having a deficiency of Ritalin. But
mm,
there are such things as having a deficiency of certain nutrients. There is
right,
such a thing as having a deficiency of healthy, emotional people around you. There is
mm,
such a thing as having a deficiency of spiritual mentors. There is such a thing as having a deficiency of the proper environment within your microbiome. There is
mm,
such a thing as having imbalances within your hormonal levels, within your blood glucose management. And the list goes on and on. There
wow,
is such a thing as having toxicity.
wow,
All of those things will lead to the manifestation of symptomology that we will label as XYZ alphabet soup mental health disorders. And
yes,
why? Because that's how they make money.
exactly,
Instead of teaching you how to make yourself healthy and strong, It put in you the fear of devil, because I can't say the fear of God. Because if you truly had the fear of God, you would ask yourself, God, what should I do? What are you trying to tell me?
Right.
We don't have the fear of God anymore. We
Right.
have the fear of the devil.
Right.
And unfortunately, that the devil, when you look at it, is live backwards. So if you want to think of how to live backwards, that is what the devil is. And unfortunately,
Mm.
today, that is what we are promoting. And we're
Right.
doing so, and we are sacrificing our children.
Mm.
Again, I want every single one of us who are adults that are listening to my voice, myself included, to be convicted, to ask yourself, are you doing everything in your power to create healthy and happy children? And
Mm.
I can look back at, like I said, I have 5 children. I can look back and I can say different things that I could have done differently.
Right.
Some of it because I didn't know, and some of it because,
Right.
out of convenience. Let's be for real.
Right.
So when I have a conversation with parents right now, they'll say, well, Michelle, it's easier to give Johnny the pill. If my school is telling me that Johnny is acting up in school, it's easier for me to give Johnny the pill and for me to say, maybe I shouldn't be giving Johnny Mickey D's 5 days a week. Maybe I should actually cook Johnny some real food the way my grandma used to cook some food for my mama.
Mm.
Maybe I should spend more time with Johnny. Maybe I should say, hey, Johnny, put down that cell phone and let us actually have a conversation with each other.
Oh, I know
God,
a lot of people you talking to. I know a lot of people you talking to, including
so,
myself.
so
But I
I
love being convicted. I love it. I love it because I'm growth oriented. So yes, exactly. That all that you says requires self-reflection, and it requires taking responsibility. And no, people just want things fixed. They don't want to take any responsibility. So
but see
you
the
don't
thing is,
you can't tell them that.
but Byron, the beauty of this, because when I wrote my first book, Birthing the Goddess Within for Our Children's Sake. Beauty of this is that as we start to truly meet the needs of our children,
Right.
guess who benefits? We benefit. When
Wow.
I started to shift what I was doing so that I could better the health of my children,
Hmm.
guess what? My health improved
Wow.
because the reality was, like my daughter, as I said, was diabetic.
Hmm.
So we changed the things in our household because it's not a matter of, well, you know what, you're going to eat this plate of food and I'm going to sit down next to you and eat the Kentucky Fried Chicken and Mickey D's. No,
Ooh,
that's
I
not happening.
love those. No, no, I get what you're saying. Nope, nope,
So
not good,
when
not
we
good for you
started to
at all.
shift and tighten up, my health improved. The
Right,
health of all the other children in the house improved. In
right.
addition to the child who was what? The messenger for God.
Mm.
The child that
Oh,
had that dis-ease was God giving the message not only to her, but in reality to me as the mother, as the caregiver, so that
right.
I could improve the lives of all of our children.
Mm.
So
Powerful.
I'm imploring all of the adults to realize that your children, whatever the difficulties that they're dealing with, this is God speaking to you. This is God saying, take care of those that I deem the most important in society. You and I
Mm.
are not important. What's important is that you and I live our lives in accordance with the will of God so that our children can flourish.
Mm. Okay.
And when we choose to live our lives, we are rewarded not only with having wonderful children that go out into the world. I can look at my children right now. My son, who is schizophrenic, now he's a engineer for an airlines. My other son is a lieutenant commander in the Marines. My daughter is a flight attendant. My other daughter is a chef in Ireland. They're all out there doing phenomenal things because I said, you know what? I've got to make those sacrifices. I've got to release myself from all the toxicity. I've got to come to terms with the fact that I was in sin, simply ignoring nature's supremacy. And
Mm.
until I start to say, you know what? It's not about being convenient. It's not about the Benjamins. It's about what is the will of God. And
Wow.
that is when the blessing will flow, not only for you, but for everyone that you touch in your life.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Dr. Michelle Gamble. We're down to about 2 more minutes. So, yes, that's absolutely amazing. Thank you for being here once again and for sharing your amazingness and your wisdom and your knowledge, your perspectives, your research, everything, and your God's gift. Just thank you very much for being here and sharing this with us, imparting us with your amazing dialogue. I appreciate it very much. And be sure, everyone, to look in the description of this segment. Dr. Gamble's links are in or incorporated in it. Click on those links, look her up, and yes, I appreciate you very much. Also, hit the like button, leave comments. Uh, appreciate you. Love and appreciation to everyone. I'll see you soon. Enlightened, empowered, evolved.